With a contract status update and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. On Instagram, Primetime Wrestling promoted a match that will take place next month with former WWE star Dabba-Kato, who is now going by Baba Thunder. We have the fight of the evening ahead of all the fights of the evening. PTW Championship match, David Punchersenko champion versus Baba Thunder, Primetime Wrestling champion David Punchersenko. At the Underground 21 Gala confirmed excellent form in a phenomenal fight with Marius Al-Ani, in which he took away the so far undefeated German-Austrian belt from PTW WWA representative. Zak previously dominated more than 20 competitors in Gold Rush Rumble to become the Federation's premier champion and fulfill his mastery destiny. But now the game changes because in this fight against this opponent, the champion will be the definite underdog. Baba Thunder, formerly known as Dabba-Kato, and Commander Aziz, is a fighter who until recently appeared in WWE and was terrifying in American rings. Now born in Poland, the great man returns to his homeland to give viewers a show as great as himself. We know we say this at every main event, but what to do when it's true? This will be the most important fight in the history of Polish pro wrestling. Be part of this historic show. Get your tickets for the gala. New sectors open, and we'll see you in Legion Now on May 11th. Let's go. Speaking about the current talent in WWE, Big E told WWE's The Bump the leap from FCW to what the tryouts looks like now. It's just massive. It's infinite. The jump. My tryout was in front of a couple dozen people in this empty warehouse, but now these young men and women are getting opportunities at WrestleMania. The people that actually got contracts are getting chances to be there in LA for WrestleMania before the seats fill up to get to talk to John Cena. It's really so much more massive than it used to be. I often say that the way things are right now, coming in as I did not win any accolades. I had a bunch of injuries. I wouldn't get hired under this current system. That's how stringent everything is. Mentioning Ric Flair's current run in AEW, Dutch Mantel had this to say on his Storytime podcast. Ric Flair couldn't help AEW if his life depended on it because Ric Flair is 75 years old. He doesn't appeal to the younger demographic anymore. I appeal to them more than he does, but the only reason he is there is because didn't he sell the Woo energy drink to them? Yes, and I think they pick up his salary and he just got to be around. If he don't want to do something, he just tells them, no, I'm not doing it. So it's not like they're his boss, the Woo Drink Company, and all day to show their ad and pay Rick. So whatever that is, and I haven't seen him in months. Talking about the footage of the altercation between CM Punk and Jack Perry being aired on AEW Dynamite, Booker T said this on his Hall of Fame podcast. Me personally, I don't think that was a fireable offense. I don't know what has been going on behind the scenes with CM Punk and Tony Khan or anything like that for Tony Khan to make a decision like that off of what we saw, because that did not seem like it was anything other than the boys getting into it. I've gotten into it with guys on the roster before many times, and normally after it happens, they will bring us in and say, guys, either we're going to get along or somebody's going to have to get along. One of the two, and we shake hands and get back to work. For details on Giulia's schedule for NXT after appearing at the Stand and Deliver event, Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio, the expectation right now is that Giulia is going to work for both companies. The hoped for start date is the July 7th show in Toronto for NXT, but she would continue to work in Marigold as their top star for a little while. Then going forward, eventually she will move to Florida with her family, and at that point the hope is that she will continue to work the big Marigold shows as much as possible. In a touching video, AEW star Zak Knight was seen returning home and embracing his children. Here's the clip. Saraya then replied, writing, "If this doesn't make you tear up, you're a cold, cold person. My brother has been grinding in AEW since October and only had 20 or so days fully at home because he wanted to grind for them. So getting the opportunity to get home early to his wife and to surprise his kids for over 3 weeks is a dream come true. Not long now until they move over here to America. Hell of a sacrifice for your dream until that point though, bro. I'm so proud of you, Zach. Thanks to AEW and Tony Khan for making this happen." Other users then chimed in, with one writing, "3 weeks, surprised they recognized him." Saraya said he gets to be home for 3 weeks. It's actually been 6 months. Nice reading ability though, goon. Another user said, "Respect to your brother for actually putting in the work, unlike someone else who thinks flying back and forth every week is a grind." Saraya wrote back, "That is a grind. That's rough on your body to be traveling so much, switching time zones, etc. People taking this as an opportunity to dog on anyone is too chronically online. All wrestlers should be respected for what they do to be a success in this business. It's a difficult job that we love to do, but it can be rough for different reasons." With Vince McMahon rumored to be selling all of his stock in TKO Group Holdings, WWE CEO Nick Khan is also selling shares, as Ringside News wrote. Vince McMahon continued his trend of selling off his TKO shares, recently pocketing close to $100 million by selling 3.5 million shares to an undisclosed bank over a 20-day period back in March. This marked McMahon's third significant sale of TKO stock since November. Initially, he sold around 30% of his shares, 8.4 million, for nearly $700 million. Subsequently, earlier last month, he divested 25% of his remaining shares for $408 million. According to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was reported that Nick Khan has registered to sell 234,424 shares of TKO, equivalent to $23 million. WWE President Nick Khan has registered to sell 234,424 shares. The remaining shares McMahon is looking to sell would be worth about $781 million, while the shares Khan is looking to sell are worth about $23 million. At the press conference for the TNA Wrestling Rebellion event, Nic Nemeth is facing off with Moose, and things got physical between Nemeth and Brian Myers.
Takes a picture, take the picture and show it. You keep saying it. You keep saying it and telling yourself that. But I see your eyes. I got you. Just step back, take the picture.
We'll see.
Yeah. You said no contact. Just step back. All right, good.
Yeah. It's not a real athlete. It's a bitch, man.
That would matter.
Oh, that was from that one.
Do something!
So fucking like I can't put my hand on you. Yeah, tough guy, huh? Hit him while he's not looking.
For a health update on Kenny Omega, who has been out of action since December, the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted he also talked of having a bit of a stay in the hospital coming up. That is about surgery due to diverticulitis. The surgery has been talked about for months, and it looks like he will have it and is waiting for a date. He had tried to avoid it, but as time went on, it was becoming more and more likely that wouldn't be the case. When it comes to Jack Perry returning to AEW following his New Japan Pro Wrestling match in Chicago, the Wrestling Observer newsletter said this was Perry's final New Japan match and he's starting imminently in AEW. Recalling the backstage environment after Roman Reigns' loss of the title to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, The Undertaker noted on his 6 Feet Under podcast, "There was a lot of really emotional moments backstage, as you can imagine. Roman coming back after, what an amazing run as champion. If you look at it and put it in today's market, what a phenomenal run. It's not going to go down in the record books as the longest world title run, but when you look at it in actuality, with as much coverage, as much media, as much exposure as you have now, Backlund's run and Hogan's early run, they didn't have social media. They didn't have as much live TV. They wrestled jobbers or didn't wrestle at all on TV. The biggest part about that is to be able to maintain and keep the people's interest in that storyline for that long. There were so many layers to it. Kudos to him and everybody that worked on all that. It's really difficult to do and difficult to do well. There was some really good storytelling involved in that. It appears a former champion is set to return to WWE as WrestleVotes reported that following his IC title loss to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, Gunther is scheduled to return to TV this Monday on Raw. With Drew McIntyre's WWE contract set to expire in the near future, an update on this situation has been provided. As it was said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, those in WWE expect Drew McIntyre is re-signing with WWE, seeing it as enough of a given he's being advertised on shows post-contract expiration. The feeling was that while he had talked of taking time off, if not creatively fulfilled, that he very much is now and is seen as one of the company's top full-time wrestlers with Rhodes and Rollins. Talking about a special request he made to The Undertaker after WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes said this to Sports Illustrated. "When I heard the gong and there was The Undertaker, the one thing I might have even said it out loud was, this is 40 years of WrestleMania. Gosh, the sheriff showing up, the judge showing up, certainly that energy in the building. You know, I asked them later if you wanted to do a tag team, I could ride in a little sidecar on the bike. Just a really special thing. I'm forever grateful to everyone who was involved on my side and everybody who was involved even on Roman's side." Mentioning a record that was broken by AEW recently, Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio this past week's Collision / Battle of the Belts X in Highland Heights, Kentucky, with 2,511 attendance, had the largest crowd ever in that city for a pro wrestling show. The previous record was a 2011 WWE show that drew 2,000 fans. Revealing a change in policy during her time in WWE, former creative director Deborah Jasway told the Cheap Heat podcast, "One thing that was huge is because of the legal ramifications, we could not use WWF anywhere. So we had to literally take that off of everything, all of our videos. And I remember it was an edict from Linda McMahon that if we used it, we were fined and we were in a lot of trouble." It appears as though former TNA stars could be on their way back to the promotion, as PW Insider reported that TNA is teasing a mystery reveal for a talent this weekend as well. There's been talk recently of some former TNA talents, male and female, potentially returning, so stay tuned. For more information regarding where WrestleMania 41 might be taking place, Ringside News wrote that the absence of a confirmed location for WrestleMania 41 has left many wrestling fans puzzled, as it deviates from the usual pattern of announcing the venue at least a year in advance. Despite various claims and rumors circulating, including reports from sources within the Minnesota government suggesting they were in contention to host the event, no official announcement has been made, even with indications pointing towards Minnesota as a potential host, the lack of confirmation leaves the situation uncertain. According to Fightful Select, there are ongoing discussions within WWE, with some advocating for Las Vegas as the preferred location for WrestleMania 41. This adds to the ambiguity surrounding the event's venue. Nick Khan's recent remarks indicating a preference against returning to outdoor Northeast locations after the chilly conditions experienced at this year's WrestleMania further fuel speculation about the location. However, if Minnesota remains a contender, there have been discussions about various options for hosting the event. Additionally, Khan's statement about avoiding a clash with the NCAA Final Four tournament has led to speculation that WrestleMania could return to its traditional March timeframe. Nevertheless, there has also been discussions about the possibility of holding WrestleMania in May. While US Bank Stadium, a potential venue for WrestleMania 41, boasts a roof and host Minnesota Vikings games, WWE is yet to confirm the location officially. They have consistently emphasized that the location remains unofficial until officially announced, adding to the anticipation and uncertainty surrounding WrestleMania 41. At a WWE live event in the UK, Cody Rhodes would speak to those in attendance.
Now, this is the part you're not going to want to film, but you can film it. I heard you guys chanting something all night. You want tables?
He's gonna find something. What's he gonna do?
Sarah, could you announce our friend, please?
Please welcome the table!
All right, I'm gonna try something. It's very unlikely it's gonna work. So feel free to laugh at me. Just bear with me. You guys want to give me a drum roll?
He put himself through a table.
Now, I'm gonna throw this back in your face.
What?
Mentioning what could be in the cards in WWE for The Rock, this was said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Without directly saying so, Dwayne Johnson indicated the same as we were told, that most likely he will face Rhodes at next year's Mania. We were told there was a chance of him doing a match late this year, but the Rhodes match was tentatively for Mania, whether Rhodes is champion or not. Giving an update on her husband, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch confirmed to Irish Wrestling and Entertainment that he will need surgery on his knee to deal with a torn meniscus. Here's the clip.
There he is.
Swit swoo.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. And you've also got a wee girl called Rue.
Yeah, a little 3-year-old.
What? She's 3.
Yeah.
So how do you guys do the juggle with being on the road and?
So he just got surgery on Tuesday. So he had knee surgery. He tore his meniscus a little while before WrestleMania, and so His rehab, I suppose, is running after a little 3-year-old now. That'll be great for his knee surgery.
When it comes to the conclusion of the WWE investigation into Drew Gulak, who is accused by former WWE star Ronda Rousey of inappropriately touching her, Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio, "What I was told was that the witnesses were not conclusive. It was one person's word against the other, but Gulak was bad publicity, so he got whacked. I don't know that he's been fired, but when I ask, it's like if he hasn't been, he probably will be. It's not looking good for him. Let's put it that way." There was an investigation, and some took it from the results that they saw Rousey's account as more credible than Gulak's defense. Although we were told the investigation didn't come back with anything solid either way, he positioned it as an accident. She didn't accept that version of the story. We were told that others interviewed really had nothing definitive to say either way. Gulak had no previous incidents or reports of bad conduct. However, the publicity was such that he was taken off television immediately, since he'd be a lightning rod for bad publicity being on television right now, given the story she told. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.